Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Maniacal S10 Shopping Garage. Peace everyone. Okay, I'm doing this turn around to keep my hand out of the way. And I'm going to show you on my '08 Pontiac G6, which covers some other years, on the rear brakes and swapping out rear bearing hubs. This one I've already done except for getting the rest of it back together and swapping out the brake pads, and also swapping out the link pin for the sway bar in the rear. You do not have to drop a tank, but it takes some finesse to get this job done. And since you can see, I'm not on a rack, or the car's not on a rack, excuse the background noise traffic, that I have to do it the way I could do it without a rack, and to be safe about it. And of course, jack stands and the front wheels chalked. Now, it is extremely tight in here to get this done. And this is not set up by the bolts, it's stud. I got the other new one. I'll show you here in a little bit. Okay, here's the link pin, one per box. There's this information. And for the hub. I'll also try to do this one-handed. There's the link pin. Here's the information. All this is off of eBay. This is the hub. And this is how it's packed. Give me a second. This comes with it. More info. This is where the ABS hooks up. And these are only hand-tight studs, literally. Tighten them up by hand, put them in. I got torque specs for this. These torque in the nut to the stud at 50 foot-pounds. And the new pads. This groove is a depth finder to let you know how much pads wore out. And of course, as I call it, the squeaker right there, I'll let you know. And this also helps get rid of the dust and the heat. Now, let's take a look here. I made this tool because the store rentals don't fit my hub. So I made this one. And of course it fits, but I need more weight to this and a longer handle. I believe it will work, because when I put it on yesterday to take the other one off, driver's side, it wouldn't budge. Literally, it would not budge. So I had to take the persuader, short-handled 5-pound sledge, and literally had to whack it X amount of times, spin it, hit it, spin it, hit it, spin it, hit it, until you get it to break loose. Then you can take the puller, if you make one, and pop it on off. So, just to show you this little bit right here, and let me see what I can do here. Hold on a minute. That's one of the rear ones. Front ones, sorry. Not much for a nut to go on there, but they're on there enough. And it fits rather good. Most of it's made out of a It's half-inch water pipe and 2 pieces of Wonder Bar high carbon steel, and it stayed together. I'm going to do another video on the front because I had to get the car going, so I'll bring that to your attention here, not for this video, but another one to show you how that goes. And do your general cleaning maintenance on the caliper bracket. My flashlight keeps wanting to flash off and on this on my phone here. But yeah, just do your general PMing on it and get all the pieces back together. I'll show you some of this on step by step. And from what you can see here, it takes some finagling, because look how close that bolt is to the link pin to the rear coil spring. You got to be darn near a magician if you don't have a rack to put your car up on to do this. And to be able to compress the spring a bit without the spring compressor itself, I use this homemade spud bar, pry bar, into the spring, and believe it or not, as soon as I see it here, somewhere, wherever it went, hold on a minute. You need that spud bar and a drift pin or alignment tool like this to be able to take the link pin off and get it back on. It is a job, but you do not, I repeat, do not have to take the gas tank off. I've seen that on YouTube. You have to take the gas tank off to do this. No, you don't. Might be easier in this circumstances, but for me, no. And give me a second here. This is the link pin I took off the driver's side. This end slides onto the sway bar. This end bolts onto the hub knuckle. It don't steer, straight axle. Well, independent rear suspension, but this bolts to it. And to do that, I use this drift pin I've already showed you to do it this way. And that's how I got it bent and took it off. And it's a bear to get off, and it's also a bear to get back on. So I took this pry bar and some transmission fluid, wiggled the sway bar link, as you can hopefully see, it's a bit wet, and that's from transmission fluid, to slide this off, this end off of the sway bar. And this end's not so bad once you get the spring somewhat moved out of the way to get that bolt. And the tools you'll need: a hammer or sledge, drift pin, this homemade chisel worked out great, because on the rear of it, the rear one, this piece here gets stuck in the non-steering knuckle, or rear knuckle, but it doesn't steer that way. And this piece comes off, you got to get it out, and with stainless steel wire brush here and a 3/8 drill, and clean that hole out real good. Scraper to get any of the crud off. This mini pry bar, that pry bar of course, clean the holes out of the base to where this bolts on. Well, yeah, bolts on too. We'll call it bolts, but they're really studs in a nut. And 15 mil 3/8 drive, 15 mil deep well, 3/8 by inch extension, the ratchets, this for this piece here, and I'll show you a little later. I get the wheel off. 14 mil to get the caliper bracket off. Copper persuader so you don't do any damage except the hammer. And some degreaser or this, either way. And of course a torque wrench. And these nuts torque onto in your own sequence at 50 foot-pounds. And then once you torque, I think it's 110 pounds for the lug nut. And let's see, what else would there be? A variety of tools, most of which I've gone over with. This cleans the holes out, of course. Torque wrench, 16 mil, 3/8, 6 point, 12 point, on, see what size this is, 16 mil, torque wrench, and oh yes, just in case, another pry bar, and I'm going to show you this. Do not forget to put this back in. Glad you can see this. This right here is a washer that has between this that the hub bolts to, which I'll back up here a little bit so you can see it better. Not a steering knuckle, but I call it a knuckle. This bolts to the suspension, as you can see, and the knuckle, excuse me, the bearing hub fits into that, and the nut goes on in the back. And it is extremely tight to work in down there. So be prepared if you're not up in the air with this thing. And don't let this hang because of the flex line. This has been a chore. Okay, caliper bracket, driver side versus the passenger side. These bolts that bolted onto the part for the suspension for the hub bearing, these go on at 50 pounds and these go on at 15 foot-pounds, not much. And with new brake pads, you also get the new hardware, brake pad hardware to go into the caliper. They already go on one way. And a little bit of lithium grease in these slots, and you're ready to go back on. And lubrication for the slide pins, I just use transmission fluid. Oil it up good, and they move freely, and we've got it. A little bit of lithium grease on the ears of the pads. These attachment hardware bolts, 13 millimeter at 50 pounds. These 20, and these are a 14. I may have told you partly wrong. These are 14s, and the caliper bolt is a 14, and the bracket bolt is a 13. And the white lithium on these little tabs. Now your brake squeaker rear pad, it's got the lithium grease on the tabs, and the squeaker is on the back one, as you see, where, there it is. And to get the piston, excuse me, I hope you can see it, there it is. You have to have a special brake tool that screws in literally it screws in to widen the gap to get this on for the pads. And this is the tool, one of them. Either side works, 3/8. I told you wrong. This specialty tool goes to another brake set up that obviously I don't have. Don't use this one. Here's the one you want to use. Look at the difference. Not this one. I'm not sure what that one goes to. This one. I could probably modify this to make it work. Maybe later. Because if you use that one, which I just tried, then that pushes that seal down over the piston and it starts to leak. I didn't rip it, but it pushes it down enough to leak. So I fixed that. Okay, bought this at a flea market. That's been modified. This end does work, but I had to put a washer on my extension to keep that from poking through. So this doesn't fit. So with the washer, and I'll show you, it keeps the extension from getting to the piston. Okay. Since I don't have I got the torque specs I told you. As far as getting into it, to the bottom one, 14 foot-pounds, the wrench, and click it on, you've got it. It's a tight fit, and the e-brake, you don't have to disconnect, which I did. I'm not going to do the passenger side that way. I'm going to hook this back up. Leave those vice grips, and I'll get it back on. Okay. There's what she'll look like back together. I'm going to start up here a little bit. Check to make sure my fluid's not leaking. Got a few drops right there, that wet spot. Make sure everything's good. Works like it should. And it should. D for driver's side. And she's back together and the e-brake is hooked back up. Now, to give you a look before and after, or after and before, I did all the primary stuff here. As you can see, I didn't disconnect the e-cable for e-brake. And I still got to screw that piston in. So, we'll get it. This indentation place spot right here, your mini sledge, unless you have a puller that works. I just need more weight to mine and give it another try. Like I said, back in here, it is extremely tight. Probably from the bottom be the easiest way of doing this. But since I can't do it that way, I do it the way that I can. Hopefully it'll help you. Come in at an angle, hit it, hit it, hit it, hit it, and don't tap it, hit it. Give it some oomph to it. Take the nuts off the back of these studs and it'll eventually come right on off. And this here does cover. The deep part goes to the inside, flange out toward the rotor. Of course, you got the reinforcement little pieces here, as you can see, the little indent that's facing you. And this is about 10 p.m., 10 a.m., either way. That's how that goes. So there you are. I'm gonna get ready to get the other part broke loose and get her all back together. So on that note, peace out, keep the wrenches turning, easy on the knuckles, and I'll see about getting this video done uploaded today or tomorrow. Hope this helped you out and shortcut and what you're going to need. And by the way, one more time, this spud bar, and it's homemade, but it works. Made it for a friend of mine. He didn't want it after all. So, into the spring. Let me give you some idea what this is going to look like. This is how I do it. And if you can see this, hope you can. That long drift pin from part of the suspension, as you can see it wiggling down in there some. I hope. Sway bar right there. Suspension back here, about where my thumb's bobbing at. Pry down some. At the same time, with a rag for your underarm, because it gets the smart a bit. Of course, the caliper's out of the way. Pry down. Just to get this bolt undone and start getting it out to the, so if I get it here, right there, to get that out. Once you get it broke loose, you don't need to do all this at the first. As you get it broke loose and backing out, then you got to do it, and 2 or 3 other hands and arms wouldn't hurt. But that's the way I did it, and it is a tricky situation. Okay, I thought we were done with this, but this is part of the the ABS off the rear, which goes like that. But once you, that goes to the inside of the wheel well of the rear. This generally doesn't come out. It pops off, of course. So, got to reach in there, and where this is dented up, that's where this comes in to tap it loose on those 2 spots to get this on out. Then clean the hole that this came out of real good, drill, wire brush, and you've got it. Same what happened with the front for the ABS. And there's a gap right here. You can get into this with a pair of needle nose pliers, vice grips preferably, and pop this out. And that's a tight fit, and that comes apart too from the other, or from the wheel hub, and the front knuckle that steers. I'll do a video on this. I'm going to keep these pieces and re-show you this more in an explanatory manner. But yeah, that's what you'll be up against. Clean it out real good, de-rust it, brush it out good. And I use transmission fluid only on this part, just a thin film of it, to help it go into the steering knuckle easier. It's a press tap with a hammer press tap to get it to go in. But on the rear, I did all the cleaning, and it fell almost all the way into place. So apparently, obviously, the front fits a lot tighter than the rear. So on that note, peace out, stay safe, enjoy this warm weather. Spring's darn near here, y'all. Safe, wrenches turning, easy on the knuckles, and catch you on the next video. Thanks everyone so much, and hope this helps. Have a great one. Bye. One more thing, one more time. For the brake pads, for the sway bar link in the back. Okay. White lithium grease for the brake pads. This magnet for the sway bar link bolt washer. Torque wrench. And it's 3/8. 13 mil. Wrench 13 mil. Wire brush for the holes. 16 mil. 15 deep well mil. 3/8 half-inch or an inch extension. Another pry bar. Small wrench to put the grease on with, as you see. Scraper. Ratchet. 3/8, 16 mil. The small sledge or the persuader. copper ones so you don't do any damage. 3/8 drill in the brush. And this. And of course, the bigger pry bar. And should have it. Okay, y'all. That's the last of it, I know. Sorry about the intermittence, but at least I get it in here. So, stay tuned, stay close to the next video, and I'll do the other side. Peace out. Be safe, first and foremost, and keep the wrenches turning and ease on the knuckles. Thanks, everyone. Bye.